are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. Well, it's good to be here with you. I'm so thankful that you were in the runoff. You're almost there. I just wanted to be able to get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
I'm doing an exclusive interview for Equity for the City.
Okay.
We inform and educate voters about the process and about candidates seek to achieve a fair and equitable Georgia. And I believe that starts with our capital city. You know, we are the heart of the civil rights movement, and achieving equity is something that we must do through creating a fair and equitable society for all the people that live in Atlanta.
I agree.
And I believe that your story, especially from what I read, definitely tells and promotes that. And, you know, I wanted to ask, what would you say was your greatest achievement before running for office?
Probably, besides entering into a stable relationship and having an incredible partner that I've been with for almost 9 years after growing up with a lot of trauma. For me, I would say having not had a traditional or stable upbringing or stable housing and still managing to coalition build, have done crisis relief work in 26 countries around the globe, and doing all that on my own dime of just like making my way from one place to the next. But I was only able to achieve that through building community and having community support and working with partners on the ground in different places. So like essentially building the skill set to do things like coalition build on a citywide level to tackle so many of the foundational issues that Atlanta is currently dealing with. So I think doing that, I think my greatest accomplishment has been building a chosen family that I've been able to take with me through every step of my journey up until now.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, like, you know, with the community building, you get to meet one-on-one with all these people and just build that vision, you know, that we're trying to achieve. Well, I was going to say, in addition to that, what was your background before running? Besides the building?
Yeah, my entire background is in crisis relief and nonprofit work. So I got my start. I mean, I've worked so many odd jobs, putting myself through school and just trying to make ends meet. But when I worked in other countries around the globe, working on things around food insecurity or working around women and children's health or LGBTQIA plus rights or any of these issues like that, I would go on the ground to different countries, different cities throughout the U.S. and work on the ground there to build with the partners that were already doing the work, to leverage what they were doing, to gain them more funding, larger networks, whatever, like what have you. I worked with Planned Parenthood against the HB 481, the abortion ban bill. Worked to get our first healthy hotel, low barrier shelter here in Atlanta that was temporary at the beginning of the pandemic to house our unsheltered population, people that were high risk for COVID but were testing negative. So I set that up. And also oversee food distribution to different encampments around the city during the pandemic as well. Also doing things like building mutual aid networks for people that couldn't make ends meet or weren't able to pay rent, people that were falling victim to predatory lending, working with folks that were living in food deserts and needed to learn how to do backyard gardening and working with local farmers. So everything I've done has been building networks to assist with a multitude of issues that stem from systemic poverty.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah, and it's like, you know, especially I think COVID has definitely in the past year made all the systemic problems that we've always had just so much more evident, you know, and I think we're in a very good place to where we can build on like the work that we started last year, I would say.
I agree. So, I mean, one of the downsides of the pandemic has been that it's exacerbated all these issues that were already there, right? So like all these things we're hearing where it's because of the pandemic, it's not true. Like, yes, the pandemic has heightened a lot of the issues that we already had, but the cracks were already there.
Yeah.
Whenever we hit a period of instability, it just further enhances the issues that were already present. So to blame it on the pandemic is irresponsible.
It is.
So that's one, but also the pandemic has also pushed not just organizers to get better at building community, but everyday individuals. It's caused all of us to become more resourceful, to communicate with each other more, to value more of our connections, to see past our own comfort, to witness other people's discomfort and how we play a role in that, and how we can use our privilege and our resources to help better the circumstances of others. So to me, it's been kind of a crash course for everyone to become better community organizers, even if they weren't before. So in that way, that's one silver lining that has come from all of this.
Yeah. And I think it's just something that you have to continually show and teach other people.
Right.
Well, with that in mind, what would you want to achieve by the end of your first term?
I would like to ban hostile infrastructure. So a lot of the way that the city and the state, but especially the city, builds and develops is made specifically to make to create discomfort for people who are unsheltered. And so I want that gone. While we all witnessed the boulders being put under the bridges to disrupt encampments, while that was the state, the city has done the same thing. I would like to build better partnerships between our trades unions and our public school system so that we bring career building back into Atlanta public schools and career training starting at a 9th grade level. So we're setting up kids for success and putting them on the pathway to secure jobs with benefits that pay well so that they can age in place here. Without having to be under threat of going into the carceral system. Because as we know, we have a large school to prison pipeline, and kids that don't graduate high school are 7 times more likely to end up in jail. So this will allow us to not only focus on workforce development, which has an extremely high ROI, but it also sets up our kids for success and cuts into that school to prison pipeline. I want to make sure that I'm assisting in the development of a diversion center by the closure of our city jail to turn into a diversion center that will work with law enforcement, organizers, everyone across the board to divert people that are nonviolent offenders that are in jail for failure to appear or because of poverty or because of trauma, and divert them out of the incarceral system and into a facility that has wraparound services that set them up for success and doesn't punish them for their trauma, but instead sees it, validates it, and meets them where they are to provide them with the resources they need to succeed. And also working with AVLF to create access to counsel for people, free access to counsel for people facing evictions and foreclosures, and for seniors that are dealing with predatory buyers. Those are a couple of things.
I love it.
Yeah, those are like the most immediate. And of course, this doesn't touch on taking foundational steps towards tackling affordable housing and a number of other things. But the things I just named are legislation that I've already been working on over the last 2 years. So.
Well, and I mentioned this, but I know that you came extremely close last time, and who's running for president now, that was her seat. So 247 votes, lost by just 247 votes in 2017. This time, we were less than 50 votes shy of winning it outright on November 2nd. And so now we're going into the runoff.